So it's not lost to me that this video might get more views than normal. It might get more eyes from people that have no idea who I am, so I just want to say hello. I am suitNtie. I do low poly-ish stuff, and I did work on the Sonic movie. For people that know me or follow me, that might be really shockingly weird. Just out of the blue, it's like, yeah, I did this stuff, and you've followed me making VTuber models, but this is the case, and I know it's very strange. So hopefully I'll explain the story of this, and it will be interesting enough. We'll see. If I skip things or I miss things, I think you can understand that there are a lot of stuff when it comes to big movies like this that people would rather have you not talk about. So, I respect all that and everything I sign. Please keep that in mind. Also, big thing here with this is everything here is owned by Paramount, SEGA, and Picturemill. I own none of these here, and these are not mine at all. And I might be saying that a couple times just so that these companies don't kill me, but I think it's extremely important that I say that because that was the one thing that was told to me when I said, can I talk, is that they are owned by Picturemill, Paramount, SEGA, and potentially some other companies, but those are the main ones. My name is Brent Lattery. I use my cell phone to record, and I've worked in the video games industry for about 5-ish years. I've done animation and majority VFX for mobile games and one AAA game. Here are the games I have worked on, a lot of which you can't find anymore. And I think if you look at these, it might be like, how did this guy work on Sonic? I'm wondering that as well. But something else that I would love for people to keep in mind with this is please do not think of this as a how to get into the industry type video. It is just my story, and maybe you can take some stuff away from it, but it is not that, because there isn't a how to get into the industry with this video. It is a lottery situation where randomly, very lucky, and yes, so please also keep that in mind. So with all that laid out, let's get started. At the end of 2023, I got laid off from my job as a VFX artist. As most of the industry was drying up, I was kind of just pursuing things that I wanted to do and that I liked to do. So while I was working, I had acquired this taste for low poly artwork, where I initially really liked pixel art and was just focusing on making pixel art and pixel art kind of games. It kind of grew into low poly retro sort of characters that look kind of like PS1 and N64. From doing fan art for this, it led me to do some VTuber models, and that was essentially paying my bills while I could do some more low poly fan art. Now this is where things get slightly speculative, but essentially I believe this is where I got the job. I had this idea for these silly little dating sim type things that I wanted to make for Dragon Ball character models that I've made in the past. So I made these Vegeta and Goku ones where it's this fake game where it's like you're dating them. Really strange, I know, but after I posted these around and they got some traction, I got an email from Picturemill. So Picturemill works on advertisements and credits for films. They worked on the last Sonic films credits. They do other stuff, but essentially they reached out to me. In this email, they mentioned that they had an opportunity and something that specifically kind of required a low poly art. So that was very fascinating. Typically you get these sort of things when you maybe post on ArtStation or something, but it almost always is some sort of scam or something like that, where it's not a real job or something that is harmful. So initially I wasn't very excited because this could have just been some sort of scam thing or something that doesn't pay anything or any of that. And looking into them, I go on their website and I see that they have worked on a lot of stuff, but the only things that really look like this low poly sort of artwork that they might be reaching out for is, I think they worked on Knuckles and then Sonic. And I was like, okay, there is a possibility that is what this is for, because this was in like end of August going into September when they reached out, and I knew the movie was coming out around December. So I had thought this could have been a possibility, but if it was, this is very strange because I'm not a Sonic fan artist. I'm not posting a lot of Sonic fan art. I had none at that time, and it was almost weird to be like, oh, why me and why this? But nonetheless, of course I'm interested, sending emails back. Now, I don't know if anyone here has worked freelance for a major potential project like this. The lead up sucks because there's just so much fear and fantasizing and excitement and doubt. I can't stress enough how awful the lead up to this was. And of course you're going to be professional, and I'm professional. and whatnot. But this thought of like, are you working on Sonic? Like, this is insane. This is crazy. They just reached out to me. This is ludicrous. It's freaky. But they got back to me through emailing back and forth. The next sphere comes up where it's the negotiating payment and stuff, and everything went pretty smoothly. They agreed, I agreed, whatever. And nothing was signed, but they said, okay, we'd like to talk to you. We'd like to speak to you. So it was a meeting kind of online, setting up a meeting or an interview kind of for the task. Now, I don't know what this is for still, but a couple weeks later, we enter this online meeting, and it's a bunch of older guys. And the one dude comes right out and he's like, yeah, this is for Sonic, and we're looking for low poly artwork for the end credits. It's funny because I think they're like low poly specialists. Yeah, I'm a specialist in this now, I guess. Sure. And they mentioned someone's name that said I would be good for the job. The thing is, I don't know who this person was when they said their name. And I looked on my social medias, my LinkedIn and stuff, and I've never worked with this name. So that was really funny and weird. But essentially going back in this meeting, they mentioned, hey, this is for Sonic. And, your brain kind of shuts off a little bit because you kind of can't believe what's happening. But, they're talking about the thing and the idea. And the idea that they were pitching to me truly was exactly what you see in the film. It's the characters running around this world that's building. Now, the thing that I would be tasked to do is work on the characters, edit the characters and make them. And I would have to work on the characters' animation and their model. And all of this sounds really good. Like, there's been jobs in the past where it's like, I don't know if I can do this, but I'll try my best. But what was nice about this was it was like, yep, all this seems extremely doable to me. It's not a problem. So everyone was happy, good meeting. And then we all, went away. And it was like, okay, we'll keep you posted. And we're looking forward to this. And that's exciting and all. But the thing is, nothing is signed yet. And, there's no kind of payment yet. So it's still up in the air. These things can still fall through. So after the meeting, it's like, okay, so it sounds like I'm going to be working on this. But I don't know if I will be. Like, this whole thing can fall apart. This what is happening to me right now does not just happen. And it is. And that's really bizarre. And so with that, it was hard not to tell anyone because I didn't want to tell anyone. Hey, I'm going to be working on Sonic. And then, it falls through. And then, hey, whatever happened to Sonic? Oh, it didn't work out. So just best to not tell anyone. And then maybe years later, it can be like, yeah, I almost worked on it. But yeah, so it was about a week or so of just kind of waiting around. I forget if I said this. Around the end of the project, I asked who got me this thing, who recommended me for this. And I guess it was one of the people in the art team, the art directors or something on the movie in one of the VFX houses followed me on Twitter or something, or on YouTube. And so if there is one piece of advice I can offer you, it's just post a lot of stuff. That what I think spread and got his attention was those little dating sim things. That was like a stupid idea that I had. And I was like, I shouldn't be working on this. I should be working on something else. I was like, no, it's a dumb idea. It's fine. I'll just quickly do it. And I did it. And if that thing got me the job, then that was because I just randomly was like, I should make a stupid thing and post it and have everyone see it. So if there is one piece of advice you can take from this to, how do I get an issue? Truly just make a bunch of stuff and post a bunch of stuff. Really, like that is good advice, I think. Okay, so starting now, let us just pivot to none of this happened, and all of this is hypothetical. Everything I'm talking about here is hypothetical, right, guys? I didn't work on the Sonic movie, and everything here is hypothetical. And I will just show you some of the work I've done. I'll just show you as a hypothetical art challenge, and not at all, from an official product. At least the stuff I'm showing you. Right, guys? Right, everyone? Okay. So when I got on the project, the things they kind of already had, and they've already showed me in like the sort of meeting with the pitch, was they had a bunch of these Sonic fighter models for Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. These were the models that I guess they'd already gone through approval with SEGA and Paramount. They're the ones they kind of landed on. Now, the astute of you that have watched the movie will know that this movie is more based on a Sonic adventure. And so why would they pick Sonic fighter models? The real answer is because none of the people played Sonic really. And they went from pixel art to low poly, so that's what makes sense. But I also agree. That being said, if they did the Sonic Adventure models, then I probably wouldn't be working on it. So, it's one of those situations. But regardless, so on the project, those models were already there. And then what I would have to do further is, so I would have to edit these models to maybe hit more of what they want from the movie, certain design aspects, whatever. And then I also had to make a shadow, and then I had to make the 2 Robotniks, and then they wanted a Chow as well, and then the Supersonic and the Super Shadow. There was a couple more characters added to this stuff later, but I will tell those when we get to them. So starting off with Sonic, this was kind of the base of like setting the tone of how nitpicky they might be, of what they will want from these models and how it's going to go. But, you know, with just the Sonic the Fighters models, if we look at them, you know, if we look at these old models, they do follow the sort of classic look, the classic dimensions, the round bellies, the big eyes and the quills that maybe aren't too large. You know, it looks a lot like the old drawings and the old pixel art. So for the first things that I was supposed to do was, you know, we wanted to make the tan arms blue for the film, and then they were concerned about the unit eye. So they were thinking potentially maybe we just have to make it one eye. And then I was thinking, you know, maybe we'd have to remove the buckle. Sonic movie doesn't have the buckle on his shoe. And maybe they would want to change the torso, like the body. Maybe they don't want the classic look. So there's a lot up in the air, but essentially all hypothetically we did was change the arms, and we waited to see if the eyes would need to change. When we got back to it, they did not want the buckle removed. They only really wanted the arms changed, and they did want to keep the uni eye. Now, I also went ahead and just changed some of the proportions. The Sonic Fighters models have really long limbs because they're supposed to be like stretching a lot more and doing a little bit more combat, where Sonic in the movies, you know, he's a little more condensed than maybe the original kind of classic Sonic look. So I just kind of made some proportion changes there. And then another thing I pitched was just like circle hands, just because I really like circle hands on low poly or mitts or something. But they wanted to kind of keep the fingers and hands from the fighters. So, you know, we did that, and it helped with a lot of poses and stuff, so it was probably for the best. So Sonic was fairly easy, and then Tails was also fairly easy. Everything that is on Tails there is pretty much good to go. You know, updated some proportions there as well, and that was kind of it for the time when I started. And then for Knuckles, the thought process that they were saying to me was like, they kind of just wanted his dreadlocks longer, which, sure, and they wanted him a little bit taller and a little bit more, you know, bigger, to kind of go with his sizing with the movie. Nothing like Sonic Boom, but, you know, in the movie he's a little bit bigger than Sonic and Tails, where in the games he's roughly the same size as Sonic. Also, he has a really long head and a long nose, so I kind of squished it a little bit initially. They didn't like the squished head, but they liked the other adjustments. Now we move on to Shadow. So this is something that is probably one of the most important things to me on the project. So correct me if I'm wrong, there has never been a classic Shadow. They had the opportunity in Sonic Generations Cross Shadow, and that was our opportunity to do classic Shadow, but it was just a costume for classic Sonic. It feels almost like they're allergic to this idea completely, so I was really skeptical if I was going to be able to. But essentially, for Shadow, you know, the thought process is he's pretty much Sonic, so, you know, we kind of swapped Sonic and made the edits that were needed, the torso fur and the shoes and the hair, obviously, eyeliner and whatnot. But then it came down to the torso. This, what I would consider the classic Sonic's kind of main thing, is the torso and then also the proportions. It's like, will they want the more like normal Sonic Adventure style body instead of this classic one? They're almost allergic to the idea of classic Shadow, so will they let this go through? If you watch the movie, you see that it's classic Shadow. I got classic Shadow in an official Sonic product. This might be the first classic Shadow in an official Sonic product. I don't think you guys understand how interesting it is that me, some dude, may have the credit of having the first official classic Shadow in a SEGA product. That's weird. Put me on the wiki. Brent Lattery, suitNtie. Put me on the wiki. I want a spot. Classic Shadow from the film's credits. No one cares. I care. I made you care now that I said it. And I go, oh, wait a minute. Anyway. So that was probably the most important aspect, and they were fine with it. They said, maybe just make the body slightly smaller than Sonic, so I did, but it's in a movie. They can't change it now. It's there, we did it. Yeah, so then from that, moving on, we get to the next sort of roadblock-ish thing, the Robotnik. So if you've watched the other credits that these guys have worked on, you know, Robotnik is not based off of his character in the thing, it's based off of Jim Carrey initially. And of course he's become more like Robotnik through the films, like losing the hair, getting a mustache, whatever, and now finally getting a little chubbier. It still is Jim Carrey, so there is this added element of like, will Jim Carrey's people say yes or no? In the first ones, you can see that Jim Carrey's sprite for Robotnik looks like Jim Carrey in the first film. So you can summarize that potentially, you know, there could be similar things with this movie. Initially, there was this thought process of, can we try just the big classic fat Robotnik and just get away with it? But they did want the sort of Sonic Adventure outfit, so that does alter things there. Now we're looking at like, okay, well, these guys are Sonic Fighters characters. Robotnik at this point kind of won't be, or it'll be its own unique one. So I kind of threw my hat in the ring at making its own unique one. So this is, you know, I essentially came up with this sort of skinny Robotnik that you see in the credits. And I actually like this look quite a bit. And, you know, they sent me early images and stuff from the film so that I had reference of the outfit he was going to get, which was cool to know about, where no one else really did. And so made that, and then, you know, the Ivan Robotnik is also pretty much the same, just a different outfit, sort of. So I made those changes as well, and that's essentially where we landed. And I'm pretty happy with this one. I'm pretty proud of this one. I think, you know, all the Sonic stuff, like the fighters models that I worked on for this, aren't really mine. They're these edited existing models essentially, but the Robotniks are basically mine. Like, well, they are. You know, I guess I used the hands, but from the fighters, but you know, that's I think that design worked out pretty well. And he's a little bit skinny because I didn't want him super fat, but he's still a little chubby. I think it works. And then last was the chows. So chows are pretty simple. You can just kind of make one of those up. But what was different about these ones is they were huge, and so they needed a higher poly count than the other cast. And you know, that's not a super difficult one to make. It was kind of funny because it was like, you know, oh, chows are going to be in the film, but so then I thought, I was like, oh, is this like leading to more, you know, chow chaos type direction? And you know, as it went on in the process and I learned more about the film, it was like, probably not. And then when you watch the movie, it's like, okay, not at all, it's just a joke. But you know, that's okay. And then I forgot to mention Super Sonic Super Shadow. Pretty self-explanatory that, you know, it's just Super Sonic and Super Shadow. Not much there. So then we kind of move into animating. So from this, the sort of approval system for these kind of had to go through multiple steps and would have to go through a couple parties. So it wasn't just like a quick, they check it, they're good. You know, we have to check with Paramount, we have to check with SEGA and stuff. So that stuff, you know, it went through quite easily. You know, not a lot of adjustments were needed. There were some for, you know, some little aspects for the characters, but it was pretty smooth. And so then we move on to the animation. So essentially how this worked was I was using a different 3D software than the team was. And essentially it was really like making assets for a video game, which is great because that's, you know, everything that I kind of know how to do is that workflow. So it was funny because, you know, like an old game, I was basically creating these loops that I would send to these guys on the team, and then they would put it into these scenes and these shots. Some of them were getting kind of hard. The Sonic Shadow dab up was a little tough, but you know, it works in the end. Some of the animation elements, I would argue, looked better on my end when they brought it over. Some adjustments had to be made, some timing things had to be made, and so some of the animations maybe don't look as good as I would like, but these kind of worse off animations aren't out of the norm for Sonic games. So there is actually some charm to that aspect, which I think is nice. But when going through these animations, the first ones you kind of start off with is like, well, there's gonna be a lot of running, so, you know, we'll do running. I really tried to look at a lot of Sonic Adventure animations for this, as much as I could. So we have Sonic's idle from Sonic Adventure, and Tails and Knuckles, and then in the runs from the game. I tried to implement more of these animations from the games and references, but there wasn't a ton of room for it anyway, so that's okay. But some people noticed online, and that makes me happy that people noticed. Maybe I tried to get the incredible transformation sequence from adventure in, but you know, they wanted to dab up instead. That's fine. You know, I tried. At a certain point, we got done a majority of these animations. They're in there looking good, and then randomly you'll get feedback from someone who I guess didn't check when we sent the approval initially, and some alterations would have to be made to the models and stuff. So like for the characters, you know, adding in the pupil colors, and you know, putting in like Tails' little spike designs. They wanted Knuckles' head to be longer again, so throughout the course it started flatter, and then we kind of kept extruding it back to that original look, which is fine. And then, you know, just little edits here and there, but nothing big except for the chows. Those ones needed to be edited a few times, which was, it got to the point where it was like stuff no one would see, and that was a little annoying, but you know what? It's all good. That's what I'm here to do that job. So one animation in particular that I want to talk about, which is more of an industry thing, but it's really weird, and it's when characters dance, the people making the decisions love it. They adore it. So when I made those Robotniks do the dance in the credits, every time we would have our morning meetings, it would be like, this is hilarious. The person would just say every time, this is hilarious, like deadpan, but like just loved it. And would always bring it up, and it's like, a lot of them are these 50-year-old dudes, and it's very funny because they really like dancing. And let me tell you, when we worked on the music video, they really like dancing. So that's why you see all these animated characters dance all the time, because it's a meeting of a bunch of these old dudes going, that's hilarious, this is the funniest thing we've ever made in our whole life. So that's just an industry thing, but yeah. Speaking of the dance, at a certain point they were like, hey, there's no one in the background, so can we put Agent Stone in? This was something that during the dance they're like, could we have Agent Stone in the background rocking out on a DJ table? And then this is hilarious, this is the funniest thing ever, man on a DJ table, holy crap. And you know, sure, yep, let's go ahead and do it. So this was interesting in a way of creating truly just like this, you know, essentially actor's likeness as a character in this 3D thing. This is essentially where we landed. I kept this kind of Robotnik smirk that Robotnik has, which I think was a nice touch, and I was like, I really want to give him Robotnik DJ headphones, so please let me do that, and I was able to do that. All these things are owned by Picturemill and SEGA and Paramount. I have to say that again, and they're not mine at all. But we did that, and then a little DJ table. I put a little latte on the DJ table, and yeah, so I just made sure to have that, and people liked it, and sunglasses as well, because I didn't want to make the eyes, you know. Robotnik's got the goggles, Ivan's got the glasses, Agent Stone's got his DJ sunglasses. I initially wanted like the Gurren Lagann kind of sunglasses, but they said no. And yeah, so then those were those elements. And then another random one that they wanted was, they were like, can Shadow have his motorcycle? Okay. So in the process, instead of having him run around in this sequence, we just had him on a motorcycle. So I had to go and make the motorcycle. Now, I want to say the type of motorcycle that Shadow is riding in the movie is something more in line of what Keanu Reeves has, his arc bikes. It's not his Harley from the games or whatever, but they wanted the one from the film. So went about that. I haven't really modeled a motorcycle before, but I did that, and it turned out good. And then as well as the computers in this shot, I also modeled as well, because I just wanted some stuff in the background. I tried to put a Virtua Fighter arcade cabinet in the background, and so I made that, and they said no. So, and a Dreamcast, I wanted to put a Dreamcast there too, but they said no. Anyway, and then also they needed a robot crab, the robot crab. Kind of funny. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this, but the crab from the movie's 10 gigabytes, the model and the textures and everything is ginormous. So this thought process early on was like, can we take the film model and collapse it into a low poly version? It's way easier just to make it from scratch, low poly. So that's what I did, and animated it coming out of the water and stuff. Yeah, so those were like extra elements around the end that I had to make sure that I got, and I was able to. This is where I need to shout out my friend who had to cover for me on this, because I had a week off for a vacation that I planned like a year ago. So TV 16-bit, he came in and he got to animate the punching shot where Shadow punches, and the Sonic Adventure 2 logo shot at the end. It's these parts that, you know, aren't too long, but it's super cool that he got that iconic shot. So shout out to TV 16-bit, and go follow them on their stuff. Everything was looking good, and then there was kind of whispers and murmurs of a music video, a musician who will not be named, and we kind of had that running in the same time. So while the movie's animation stuff was winding down, I was getting it done, we added the new stuff, it was looking good. I was slowly being moved on to this music video for the song Run It that you can go find on YouTube, Jelly Roll, and that was essentially how it started kind of shifting around the end. The music video was very similar, where I would work on animations and then the team would put them into the shots. This one was a little bit more kind of annoying to work with because they had like live action footage that Jelly Roll needs to be edited out of. But the dance in the music video is supposed to be based off of Robotnik Shuffle. Initially, it was supposed to be a line dance. So not only would you have Sonic with a country song as the main theme for his movie, you also would have had Sonic line dancing everyone. I'm sorry you didn't get to see that, but that was turned into the shuffling from the film. And like I said before, the people that were reviewing this every time, this is so funny. This is the best thing ever. This is so funny. And so that is funny to me. I think there's not much more to say. There's probably some stuff I missed. I guess just my thoughts on the project stuff. So maybe some questions potentially people had were like, did I get to see the movie before? No. Did I get spoiled before? No, whatever. None of that. I got like some things, like I saw Shadow with his gun before. It was in the trailer, and in fact it looked more like just a gun before. They kind of made it look like a taser in the movie. And so that was like kind of the only thing I thought was like super cool that I got to see first, but nothing really crazy. Of course, Super Sonic, Super Shadow, but I think maybe that could have been assumed. And then, I guess they cut the moon in the credits, so there was that aspect as well. But yeah, there was that stuff. And then, yeah, so not really spoiled in that sense. It was just kind of looking at the project as a whole, it was extraordinary that I was able to make things that didn't have to go through that much red tape. It's insane. Yeah, they checked in on some stuff, but the fact that, like I said, I got classic Shadow in is insane. There was something, so like when Sonic and Shadow jump off the Death Egg, I was going to make them do a little spin jump. Obviously, they turn into their balls. Of course, that's what happens when they jump. What the guy said, and I quote, is like, Sonic doesn't do that in the movie. So, yeah, okay. And, but just going back to, like, there was a lot of amount of freedom. And obviously, you know, I know to respect the source material as much as I can, to put in references as much as I can when I can. So all of that stuff, you know, it was fun to work on, and it wasn't like bad. Like, I think for some of these you might expect there's so much red tape, you can't do anything, everything takes 7 people to look at before they okay it. But no, it was good. And I think maybe all that legwork might have been done early on in the storyboarding process, but that was pretty cool. Just so something I just want to reiterate, this essentially is the lottery. This is not something that I think you can really replicate per se. Like, it wasn't like I knocked on SEGA's office and I said, put me in the movie. You know, it wasn't that. I wasn't even working with a company that worked with this stuff. The only thing I can say is I was doing the similar kind of art style, and I was announcing my presence online. And that's it. It is entirely lucky. And I think, you know, when I tell my family or friends about this, there's just thought, oh, that's cool. That'll lead to more work. Nope, probably not. And it is what it is. But you never know. And it's really cool. I really love working with everyone. And hopefully making this video doesn't tank all those chances. I am super thankful to the team at Picturemill. They were amazing to work with. I tried not to break any kind of whatever, because I tried to just stick to my story mostly. I loved working on the project, and it was very fun. It was very cool.